Hello my lovely stitchers, today we are going to stitch some lovely little Halloween pumpkins, and if you stick around as well I've got a little bonus spooky Halloween spider. Welcome to my channel everyone, Sarah Homfray Embroidery. I am Sarah and this is a channel dedicated to hand embroidery. We have loads and loads of videos, over 300 now, so do go and check those out. I hope you find something that you like. So just before I get going on this, I just want to say hello to a few people. So firstly to Maria in San Francisco. Hi Maria, thank you for watching, thank you for being a member as well, and thank you for my little present that you sent me. I'm so glad you're enjoying the videos and you have found your creative mojo. I hope this one today inspires you as well. I also want to say hello to Natalie and Alla who are watching in Ukraine. Maybe somebody else is watching in Ukraine also. Hello to you as well. Thank you for watching. I can't imagine what you guys are going through. Glad you're enjoying the videos and finding a little bit of solace in them. We are all thinking of you. Okay, so let's make some little pumpkins. These are dead easy to do. You don't need many materials, so let's have a look and see what we're going to use. So the first thing that you're going to need is some fabric to make your pumpkin out of. Any fabric will do. I've actually made these out of quite a few different fabrics. So this is a cotton and a linen. I've made them out of velvet as well. And we've got some silk ones too. So any fabric will do. Just pick something that you like for a pumpkin. Something round to draw your pumpkin shape with. Embroidery hoop's quite a good idea. Or a plate or a cup or anything that's round that you can draw around. I've got some strong sewing thread here. It does need to be strong. This is a buttonhole thread or a top stitching thread. Really, really strong one because I'm going to pull on this thread quite tightly. A needle that will fit the buttonhole thread as well. A pair of scissors to cut your thread. A pen of some description to draw your circle on. And then the last thing that you need is some stuffing, some wadding to stuff your pumpkin with. This is just toy stuffing here. And then if you want to add a little gold tendril on, like I've done with this one, I've used a piece of gold pearl as well, but you could also use just a gold jewellery wire, craft wire that you can twist around, something very fine to make that. The very last thing that you need, nearly forgot the most important bit, is a twig. I seem to be using a lot of twigs in my embroidery at the moment. This is the third video that's got a twig in it. So a twig for the stem of your pumpkin. This is a twisted willow, which works really nicely because it's curved, but just go outside in your garden or go for a walk and see what you can find. So the first thing we need to do is to draw a circle and our fabric. Now the pumpkin will end up about half the size of the circle because what we're going to do is just gather it up and it will all fold in on itself. So that's a good estimate of how big you can make your pumpkin. You've also got to get your needle through from the bottom to the top here. So anything too big you won't be able to get your needle through. So try a small one first, see how you get on with that, and then you can always change the size after. So I'm going to use this embroidery hoop to draw my circle. As I said, anything that's round will work for this. And I've just got a dissolvable pen. We're going to cut it out, so it doesn't really matter what pen you use. Around the inside. I've got my circle like so. Just cut your circle out. Now I'm just going to use a cotton for this. The thinner fabric works a little bit better because you can get a nice tight draw when you draw your threads up at the top. But as I said, it does work on lots of other fabrics as well. So maybe try with the cotton first, just to have a little practice with, and then you can experiment with some other fabric. So I've got my buttonhole thread. Now don't cut the buttonhole thread, just thread it in the needle. And I'll show you why that is shortly. And we're just going to work a running stitch all the way around the edge of this. These are so easy, these pumpkins. You can get a production line going if you want to. I'm actually going to come from the back. I want my thread to come out on the right side of the fabric. Could actually just turn it over, it'll be easier. Just going to work a little running stitch, so not right up to the edge, maybe about 1 centimetre in, 1/4 inch. Just work that all the way around the edge. Make your stitches quite small so we can draw it up nice and tightly, keeping that distance all the way around the edge. So, I'm going to come and help me make pumpkins. It's going to be my witch's familiar. Sit down. Where have you been all day? No. Doesn't want to play today, folks. Then all the way round, just going to come back to where I started. Make sure you come out on the top next to that point, because we're going to tie those two together. Take the needle off. Now, to save a little bit of thread, don't cut it from your reel yet, because I'm going to show you how to measure what you need. I'm just going to start to pull this up. So if I turn this over and I just pull the long one, it will start to gather that, and it will just pull this thread through. So I've just got a little end like that, and that little end is going to get tied off. And we just make ourselves a little pumpkin bag, if you like, which we're going to put the stuffing in. So you get wadding, and just put some wadding inside the pumpkin. Now, just fit into a little ball. These pumpkins don't need to be really solid, but you do need enough in them that when we stitch around it, it doesn't just collapse on us. So a fair bit in there, and then if you just start to pull it up, you can see if that's enough. You can just push it in with your finger or a malure or a pair of scissors, whatever you want to, just to keep that wadding under control, and just keep pulling it up. And that's quite a good amount in there. It's not too hard that we can't stitch around it very easy, and it's not too soft that that's all going to collapse when we stitch it. So I think I'm happy with that. One thing I'm just going to do before I pull that up is just to make a bit of a hole in the wadding to stick the stick into. Now you can put a blob of glue on the end if you want, but if I just make a hole, that will just guide that into the centre somewhere. So just pull that up and then tie it off. Now I'm using a cotton buttonhole thread, which should mean that this stays nice and tight when you do you pull it tight and you pull the knot tightly. I did try it with a beading thread and it was a bit too shiny and it came undone. So this is where this thread comes into its own. So just tie a double knot in that just to make sure it's not going anywhere. And if you don't use this thread, this is where it breaks. So it must be this nice strong thread. Linen thread works well too. So we're going to leave that little end and finish that off in a minute. Now we just need to measure how much of this thread we want. So the way to do that is just to wrap it around your pumpkin 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit extra, a good measure. We're going to use this long end to make our pumpkin shape. So thread that in your needle. We're going to wrap this around and stitch through the centre. So where your thread comes out from your fabric, you're going to go over there, over the back, hold it with your thumb and then stab down into the middle of your pumpkin. And you want to come out just off centre, so just where that you work those running stitches. Don't come inside it. You'll see why in a second. So just going to come out there. I'm going to pull that tight and you can see how that forms that shape on the pumpkin. And back over to the centre. You can just turn that 90 degrees, hold it with your thumb, back down the centre, just turn it over, make sure you come out just off centre there, pull that one tight, wrap it back over. I'm going to go all the way around to the top now. We'll put like a cross hairs in it. Again, just check that's off centre, don't stick the needle through your finger. Pull that tight. Over we go, back to the centre. Now we're going to go in between each one of those stitches, but doing exactly the same. You can just do each quarter now. Pull each one tight as you go. You can see that pumpkin shape start to form now. And the last one, and if you can get that last one to come out where you started with this thread, then we can tie them off together. So that one needs to come out there. So I'm going to go into the centre, come out next to that other end of thread there. Pull that one tight. So we can tie those off together. And just before I tie it off, I'm just going to do a little stitch through those folds. That will just keep the tension on the thread and stop all that stitching on the back coming undone. Take my needle off. Just tie a couple of knots in that. And it's as simple as that, folks. One instant pumpkin, and then you can just get rid of these ends. I like to just take them through the fabric again. You could just cut it off, but then you're relying on those two knots to hold it. So I like to just run it through some of these folds just for a bit of extra security. So let's do that one and this one, and then we can just cut those ends off. So this is a good time to give your pumpkin a plump. Make it whatever shape you want to. You can sort of push it up a little bit, make it a bit fatter. It's quite nice to do that. We've got our basic pumpkin shape. So we're going to put the little stalk on and the tendril. So get yourself a twig. I think that one is quite nice. I'm just going to snap that off. And that end can go inside there. That looks quite nice. So we're just going to open up these folds, make sure we can get to the centre wadding there. But just before I push that in there, I'm going to make a little curl on it. So this little tendril here, let's make one of those. So I've got some pearl, so that's P-E-A-R-L, P-E-A-R-L, P-U-R-L, pearl. It's a goldwork thread. We do have videos on goldwork threads and everything that you can do with those, so do check those out if you're looking at this. What the hell is this? If you don't have any pearl, you can just get some jewellery wire and just wrap that around a needle, and that will give you a coil as well, because it's just a coil of wire, and I'm going to overstretch it just a little bit like so. You cut that off. Don't use your best embroidery scissors to cut wire with. I'm going to curl the bottom around the twig. In fact, if I just pull that one out a little bit more at the end, wrap that around like so, and then you can just coil this one up. You can wrap it around something if you want to. Give it a bit of a curl. You can have a play with that. Got our little tendril like so, and then I'm just going to push that centre into the middle of the pumpkin. So don't push it too hard because the twig will snap. That's from experience. So I have a few spare twigs just in case. And then all I'm going to do is just twist it into the middle, and that will go into the wadding that's in the middle. It goes between all these stitches as well. And if you do want to put a blob of glue on to keep that in, you can do that too. I found they just stay in fine actually if you just twist it at the bottom. Like so, they look really good. And then you can just bend this into whatever shape you want. If you want to just hide the end of it in there, or you can cut it. Actually, it's a bit long, so I might just cut that one off there. Like so. Et voila. We have a pumpkin. So we've had fun making our pumpkins. We need a little Halloween decoration for them, I think. So I'm going to make this little spidey spider. Here he is. So he's in goldwork metals. And I've just stuck him on this pumpkin here. So I'm just going to take him off so you can see him. There he is. So I tried to do this in stitching with needle and thread, but he just became a really floppy spider. So the only way to make him is with wire. So I'll show you what materials I'm going to use. So for the legs, I'm going to use this pearl, so the same pearl that we used to make the tendril on the pumpkins with. This is a number 2, pearl number 2. It needs to be quite large, so I'm going to put a wire down the middle of it. So I need some pieces of that. To make the body, I've got some bright check pearl, so it's also a coil of wire made of a much finer wire, and it's done around a different shaped needle, so it's got these sort of facets and it shines, and this is a really big one. And what I'm going to do with this is cut it and scrunch it to make the body. And then the other thing that you will need is some wire. So I've just got some gold coloured jewellery wire or craft wire. It just needs to go inside the pearl, so that's why the pearl needs to be large, because the wire is going to go inside it. So just make sure that those two fit together. So I've already cut my pearl legs to length, so there's 2 of each to go on each side of him, so he's got 8 legs. And I'm going to make the body so I can attach the legs to the body. So to make that, I'm just going to move them out of the way a second. Go there, matey. So I'm going to overstretch this bright check pearl. If you just pull it, you can see how it sort of goes quite faceted like that. See, it opens up and you can see the shape of that and the sparkle off it. And all I'm going to do is just to coil this up into a little ball. So you need two of these, one for the abdomen and one for the thorax. So we'll make this one a bit bigger for his body. You can just stretch a bit more if you need a bit more of it. Curl it around in your fingers. A little bit more. Okay, I think that's enough. You just refine the shape a little bit. You can rub it in your fingers. It is wire, just be careful with that. Press it together a bit more, and I actually flattened this a little bit. Made it a bit more of a kind of oval for his body. Thought that looked more body-like. So you can manipulate its wire. You can just squash it into shape. Keep going until you've got the shape that you want. So for his body. So we'll make another one for his thorax. So I'm actually going to sew these two pieces together, and that was the easiest way. So if you just thread up a needle with a sewing cotton and come up through the middle of that piece there, and then thread on the top part, and then we can go back down through the top part like so. Just push it through, it will go through that wire, and go back through this larger part as well. Now don't go back down the same place, it will just sit on the top and wobble around. Another wobbly thorax. So just, you can go through as many times as you like, as you can see it. So I'm just going to pull that on tightly. We can manipulate it afterwards into shape, just to fasten the two together. So you can go back up again and do another turn just to make sure that's really secure. So I've gone up and down a few times, that's quite stable now, so you can just finish off that thread by going back through the middle there like so, and you can just cut that off. You won't need the thread again. And if you're someone who enjoys playing with your threads and your metals, by the way, do check out my creative goldwork embroidery video. I'll put that up here, little link up there. Just shows you how we have a little bit more of a play with these materials and what you can do with them to create something really different. Right, so we have our spider's body, so we need to put our legs on. So we're going to need the wire, and we're going to thread on one of the legs at a time. So I'm going to start at the top for no particular reason. Now you want your wire to be quite straight, so that just slides on there. We'll bend them into shape afterwards. And the thing you will need here as well is a pair of pliers, something just to turn the ends over here so that the purple doesn't come off. So I've got some round nose ones here. Just going to bend that in. So that pushes up to there and that doesn't come off, and that gives them some little feet as well. And if you want to squash those feet, you can do. I'll try and do that on the camera so you can see. Like so. Now I'm going to roughly measure what I need. So it's going to go through the body here. We're going to put that one on and we're going to bend that little bit at the end. So I'm just going to cut that roughly to shape. We can cut it down a bit further, but this is a bit unwieldy, because what we're going to do now is thread it through the body. Now it's a good idea to get a large needle, make the hole in the body. So we're just going to push the pieces of wire apart. Now they all join at this point here, so you've got to get all those legs in there. So I'm just going to do that one just at the bottom of the thorax there, so I can fit them all in. And if you just take the needle all the way through, that should make up a nice hole, and then you can just slide through your wire like so. Oh, I'm getting my feet mixed up. That's the short one. Don't get your feet mixed up because he's going to look a bit lopsided. So then just thread the other one the other side, and you can see how sturdy that is. There's no way I was going to do that with stitching. It needed the wire through it. So we're just going to cut that one to length. We'll make sure that's pushed up nice and tightly. Cut that one to length. And we'll just twist that one over as well. That's the flat side. So he's got his first 2 legs, and now don't worry, he looks a little bit spider-like at the minute. We can bend him into shape afterwards, so we need to get all the other legs on in the same way. Wire back, please. This wire as well. No, don't eat the gold. Don't eat the gold. It's going to tap me. Hey. Right, can I finish my spider, please, without you attacking me? Right, so I've got 6 of the legs on, so it's the 7th one. This might end in tears, and they'll be mine. I like the spider. There's a lot of eating spiders. Good boy. So you can be good, can't you? So thread that through there, like so. They get a bit unwieldy when you've got this many. Thread the last one on. Little leg into shape. Right, he looks a bit possessed at the moment. So what we need to do now is we need to give him proper leg shape. So I'm just going to bend this wire now. The pearl is wire and it's got wire down the middle, so kind of one bend only. If you start bending it too much, you're going to end up in all sorts of trouble. So I'm just going to put my my pliers on there and just give it a tweak down. Just push that one up a bit as well, and do the same with all of these. Just one bend, one bend. And this bottom one, they make quite a nice curve in like that, so don't bend that one, just curl that one in, and then do the same with the top. Try and bend them in the same place. Like so. Just give him a little fiddle with, just to get him to sit how you want him to sit. It's all wire, so you can just give it a little mould and push it around a bit till it's doing what you want to do. It's quite good. And we have our goldwork spider, and then you can put him on your pumpkin if you want to. You could just sew him on, come up and through, up and down a few times to sew him on. You could put him on a brooch pin and you could wear him. Whatever you want to do with him. So there you go, folks. A nice Halloween session for us this time. So a pumpkin and a goldwork spider. So I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. Do give it a thumbs up if you have. YouTube will see that and they will show it to more people, and we can spread the embroidery love. If you want to have another go at another Halloween project, our embroidered Halloween pumpkin is up here. So do check that one out, and we will see you next time.